13. That's how many times the clock tower groans at midnight in Pembine, a town where the air tastes like rust and regret, where every shadow hides a question. What happened to Laura Van Du Rose? They say she's still here, not just in the creak of floorboards or the flicker of a candle, but in the breath on your neck when you dare whisper her name. A heiress, a witch, a ghost. But her story isn't about how she died, it's about why she won't. And tonight, you'll learn what she wants from the living. Close your eyes. Breathe. Can you smell it? The damp rot of autumn leaves, the metallic tang of secrets buried too close to the surface. This is Pembine, a town where fog doesn't just roll in, it suffocates. Where the wind carries more than the chill of the great north woods, it carries her voice. Laura Van Du Rose. They say her name tastes like ash and absinthe on the tongue. A woman who danced with shadows long before they swallowed her whole. In 1893, she vanished from a locked room, leaving behind a half-eaten apple, a diary scrawled with symbols no scholar could decipher, and a single question carved into the wall. Who took the light? For over a century, Pembine has tried to forget, but Laura won't let them. Some nights, when the moon bleeds silver through the pines, you can hear her pacing the halls of Rose Hollow. Not a ghost, a presence, a rage that cracks the foundation stones. They say she's searching for something. A truth? A betrayer? Or the thing that condemned her to wander between the living and the dead? This isn't just a ghost story. It's a warning. Because Laura doesn't haunt places, she haunts people. The curious, the guilty, the ones who dare to ask, was she a victim? A monster? Or something far older, far hungrier, wearing the skin of a dead girl? By the end of this tale, you'll wish you'd stopped listening. But it's too late. You've already heard her name, and names have power. Laura Van Du Rose wasn't born a ghost. She was born a storm. In 1893, she was the spark in Pembine's gloom, a silver spoon heiress with a laugh that rattled the pews at Sunday sermon. But Laura didn't belong to drawing rooms or ballrooms. She belonged to the woods. At dusk, she'd vanish into the pines, her emerald skirts snagging on thorns, pockets weighed down with things. A raven's feather still warm from its wing. A deer skull polished smooth by creek water. Pages ripped from books no one else dared to read. The townsfolk called her the Witch of Willow Bend, but never to her face. Not because they feared curses, because they feared her. Not her rituals, not her oddities, her eyes. Pale green, like lichen on a grave. They saw too much. A farmer's cheating heart. A banker's ledger of lies. Laura collected truths the way she collected bones, and buried neither. Then came October 17th. The night the crickets stopped singing, Laura's maid found the dining room table set for two. A platter of congealed venison, a single candle burnt to a nub, and a glass of wine left untouched. Upstairs, her bed hadn't been slept in. Just her diary, splayed open to a page smeared with charcoal and something darker. A sketch of a door that didn't exist in Rose Hollow, and beneath it 3 words, "They're waiting downstairs." But it was the glove that sealed her legend. Ivory lace, crumpled at the foot of the cellar stairs. Stained crimson at the fingertips, as if she'd clawed at something. Or someone. The sheriff swore it was animal blood. The pastor called it a warning. Laura's mother burned it before dawn. Yet here's the twist. Laura's diary didn't end that night. For years after, new entries appeared. Faded ink, shaky handwriting. "The trees won't let me leave. He promised it wouldn't hurt. Why won't they look at me? Was she alive? Mad? Or had she always been something else? A creature who merely played at being human until the veil tore? One thing's certain. The Laura who wandered those woods wasn't just a girl. She was a key. And Pembine? It's still locked. Rose Hollow wasn't just a house. It was a thing. A creature made of brick and rot, crouching at the edge of Pembine like a starving animal. After Laura vanished, the town tried to forget it, boarded the windows, sold the land for pennies, but the house refused to die. It festered, grew teeth, floorboards warped into crooked smiles, wallpaper peeled like sunburnt skin, and the portraits, God, the portraits. Laura's family still hung in the halls, their oil-painted faces rotting into moldy stains. All except hers. Laura's portrait grew younger, her cheeks pinker, her emerald eyes sharper, hungrier, as if the girl in the frame was slowly waking up. Visitors swore her gaze followed them, that her lips twitched when thunder shook the hills. But the real horror began in the summer of 1927. A drifter named Elias Pike stumbled into Pembine, half dead from hunger. The townsfolk warned him, "Don't go near Rose Hollow." But a storm rolled in that night, black clouds, howling wind, and Elias had no choice. He pried open a basement window and crawled into the dark. The house welcomed him. Elias later told the sheriff he found candles lit in the foyer, wax dripping fresh, as if someone had just walked away. Rainwater pooled at his feet. Odd, since the storm hadn't reached Pembine yet. Then he heard it, the sound of wet silk dragging down the staircase. Laura stood at the bottom, her hair tangled with leaves, her gown soaked through. Elias said she looked real. Not some shimmering ghost, but solid. Dirt under her nails, breath steaming in the cold. She stared at him, trembling, and hissed 2 words. "Find it." Before he could speak, the chandelier above him snapped its chains. Elias survived, if you can call it that. The falling crystal tore his spine in half. He lived just long enough to repeat Laura's words to the sheriff. Find it. Find what? A clue? A body? Or the thing she bargained with the night she disappeared? The town burned the chandelier's remains, poured holy water on the floors. But Rose Hollow wasn't finished. In 1948, a schoolteacher named Margaret Harlow snuck inside on a dare. She swore Laura appeared in the parlor mirror behind her, mouthing silent words. When Margaret turned, the mirror shattered. Glass shards cut the word "run" into the wallpaper. In 1979, a film crew tried to document the haunting. Their tapes captured Laura's face in every window, even as they filmed the empty rooms. But when they played the footage back, the audio was replaced by a man's voice, raspy, desperate, repeating, "She's lying. She's lying. She's lying." And in 2015, an urban explorer named Devin Cole vanished inside Rose Hollow. His GoPro was found in the attic, battery dead, except for one 12-second clip. It shows Devin crawling through a hidden door in the library wall, whispering, "It's here. It's finally here." Then the camera tilts. A pale hand grips his ankle. The video ends with Laura's voice, clear and cold. "You're too late." To this day, no one knows what Laura wanted Elias to find. But they know this. The house is hungry. It eats the curious, the guilty, the ones who think they can outsmart a ghost. Some say Laura's trapped in Rose Hollow, forced to lure victims as punishment for her sins. Others say she's the house itself, the creaks in the walls, the whispers in the pipes. A few believe she's still searching for whatever she lost that night in 1893. A locket? A journal? Or the name of the person who betrayed her? But there's one detail nobody explains. Every autumn, the same strange fungus blooms in the cellar. Blood-red tendrils that pulse like veins. They grow in the shape of letters. 3 years ago, it spelled help. Last year, close. This past October, the door. Is it Laura? The house? Or something else, older and angrier, using her voice to trick the living? Maybe the answer doesn't matter. Because Rose Hollow isn't a puzzle to solve. It's a wound, and wounds left open too long, they infect. So if you ever drive through Pembine, keep your eyes on the road. Don't look at the house on the hill. Don't wonder about the girl in the portrait. And if you hear the floorboards groan or feel cold breath on your neck, or see a shadow that walks just a little too smoothly, run. Not from the ghost, from what she's become. The woods around Pembine have always been alive, not in the way trees breathe or roots crawl. Alive in the way a predator watches, waiting, hungry. And Laura Van Du Rose? She didn't just walk these woods. She bargained with them. It started 3 weeks before she vanished. Letters to her cousin in Milwaukee mention a visitor, a man with eyes like moss after rain and hands scarred by thorns. He arrived at Rose Hollow at dusk, carrying no suitcase, no hat, just a burlap sack leaking black soil. Laura called him the gardener. Servants swore they heard arguing in the greenhouse that night. Glass shattering. Laura screaming, not in fear, in rage. By dawn, the man was gone. But the pines around the house, they'd changed. Where trees once grew wild, they now stood in perfect rings, 7 circles, each with a single oak at the center. Locals refused to cut them. They claimed the saws blunted, the axes chipped, and the men who tried? They'd come home feverish, babbling about green eyes in the bark. But Laura's diary hints at darker things. On October 1st, 1893, she wrote, "He says the trees will protect me. But from what? Or whom?" Then came the mushrooms. Every autumn, after the first frost, they burst from the soil around Rose Hollow. Not random clusters, patterns. Stars, spiral galaxies. Constellations Laura sketched in her diary the week she disappeared. In 1923, a biology student from Chicago camped in the woods to study them. He vanished for 3 days. When rescuers found him, he was curled inside one of the pine circles, his skin crusted with lichen, his pockets stuffed with mushrooms. He kept screaming, "They're singing," until the asylum took him. But the most chilling clue surfaced in 1954. A hurricane tore through Pembine, uprooting one of the ancient oaks. Beneath it, a child's doll, porcelain face cracked, dress stained with mud and dried blood. It matched the description of a toy Laura's younger sister lost in 1889, a sister who died of fever a month later. Carved into the doll's chest was a symbol, a circle of thorns, identical to the brooch Laura wore in her final portrait. Was it a grave offering? A sacrifice? Or proof the woods demanded payment for their protection? Stories of the green-eyed man persist. In 1988, a hunter swore he saw him standing in the fog near Rose Hollow, except his feet didn't touch the ground. His clothes were rotted, his skin peeled like birch bark, and his eyes, glowing, not green, black. The hunter fired his rifle. The thing turned, smiled, and dissolved into a swarm of beetles. Then, in 2019, a Reddit user posted photos of a journal found in an antique shop in Green Bay. The pages were water damaged, but one entry was legible. Met Elle today. She's desperate. Says the pines promised her a way out, but they lie. They want her soul. They want her voice. Told her to burn the circles. She laughed. Says she'll control them instead. Fool. Doesn't she know? The forest eats the proud. The post was deleted hours later. The journal? Gone. But Laura's biggest secret lies in her diary. On the last page, dated October 16th, the night before she vanished, she drew a door. Not a normal door. An archway of twisted branches, its keystone carved with that same circle of thorns. Beneath it, she wrote, "He says it's the only way. But what if I can't come back? What if I don't want to? The door doesn't exist. At least, not anymore." After the 1954 hurricane, a fire ravaged the woods around Rose Hollow. The pine circles burned to ash. But locals say the flames didn't spread naturally. They crawled, avoiding the house in a perfect half-mile radius, as if something refused to let Laura's prison burn. Today, the mushrooms still bloom. The pines still grow in rings. And every few years, another fool tries to find that door. In 2001, a paranormal investigator named Marcus Reed brought a team to Rose Hollow with ground-penetrating radar. They detected a hollow space beneath the largest oak, a chamber the size of a coffin. But when they dug, they hit stone that bled a thick, sap-like liquid. Tests came back inconclusive. The substance wasn't plant, wasn't animal. "It's alive," the lab technician said. Or it was. Then there's the whispers. Visitors to the woods report hearing them, not in the wind, but underfoot, muffled words rising through the soil. Some say it's Laura, trapped beneath the roots. Others say it's the green-eyed man, still tending his garden. But a few have translated the sounds. Old words, Gaelic maybe, or something older. One phrase repeats, "Unlock the door." What happens if someone does? Would Laura finally be free? Or would whatever she let into our world finally climb out? Maybe the answer's in the diary. In the last entry, hours before she disappeared, Laura wrote, "I hear them singing. It's beautiful. It's hateful. They say I'll never belong to the earth now. I'll be something else. A bridge. A key. A wound. God forgive me. The woods remember. The pact still holds. And Laura, she's still paying for it. So if you ever walk the trails near Pembine, listen to the pines. If their needles prickle your neck like breath, if their roots seem to coil around your boots, don't ignore it. Run. And whatever you do, don't look back. The green-eyed man hates witnesses. Laura Van Du Rose isn't in Pembine. She is Pembine. Her ghost isn't some shadow in a hallway. It's the air, the soil, the silence between heartbeats. You don't see her. You breathe her. And once she's inside you, she doesn't leave. Take the hikers. In 2017, a couple named Jen and Marco parked at Willow Bend Trailhead. They swore the woods smelled sweet, like vanilla cake fresh from the oven. But beneath it, something metallic, blood on a copper pipe. They laughed it off until the trail markers vanished. Their compass spun. Their phones died. And in the static of Marco's dead camera, a voice whispered, "Stay with me." They were found 3 days later, 20 miles north, barefoot and frostbitten. Jen's last words before the ambulance took her? "She was holding my hand the whole time." Then there are the photos. In 1992, a tourist snapped a picture of Pembine's Main Street. When it developed, a streak of emerald silk cut through the frame. No source, no explanation. Last year, a TikToker named Trey filmed a sunset over Rose Hollow. When he played it back, a woman's laugh echoed at full volume. Even though he'd been alone, the comments flooded. "That's Laura's laugh. My grandma described it exactly." The video was deleted. Trey's account went dark. But the clock tower, that's the worst. Built in 1889, it's the town's pride. Or it was. Every year on the same 3 dates, October 17th, the night Laura vanished, June 12th, her birthday, and April 3rd, the day Rose Hollow was completed, the clock changes. At midnight, it strikes 13 times. Mechanics have checked the gears. Electricians rewired it. Priests blessed it. Nothing works. The 13th chime always comes. And when it does, the townsfolk sleepwalk. In 2005, 8 people woke up in the woods at dawn, their feet caked in mud, their pockets stuffed with pine needles. One of them, a nurse named Rita, said she dreamt of Laura standing at the edge of her bed, dripping wet, whispering, "Follow the moths." The next morning, Rita found a locket in her kitchen sink, rusted shut, filled with soil. She never opened it. But Laura's most insidious trick? She repeats. In 1934, a boy drowned in Pembine Creek. Witnesses said a woman in a green dress watched from the far bank. In 1980, a librarian choked to death on rose petals that bloomed in her throat. Her co-workers swore they'd seen Laura's face in the stacks that morning. And last winter, a farmer named Hal shot himself after finding his fields littered with dead crows, all arranged in the shape of Laura's initials. His suicide note read, "She won't stop singing. Here's the truth they won't tell you. Laura isn't trying to scare us. She's recruiting. Every strange scent, every corrupted photo, every chime of that clock, it's a test. A way to see who's weak enough to let her in. Who's angry enough, lonely enough, hungry enough to listen when she whispers, 'I can make the pain stop.'" Some say she offers deals. In 1976, a bartender named Eddie claimed he met her at closing time. She sat at the end of the bar, her hair full of twigs, and slid him a napkin with a name written on it, his ex-wife's. "Say the word," she said, "and she'll never hurt you again." Eddie burned the napkin. That night, his ex-wife's house caught fire. She survived. Eddie didn't. They found him in his apartment, a smile carved into his face, his hands clutching a bundle of dried lavender. Laura's favorite flower. But the darkest story? It's yours. Yes, yours. You felt it, didn't you? That itch to skip to the end of the story. The chill when the clock chimed in the background. The way your room feels colder now, like someone's leaning over your shoulder, reading these words with you. That's her. Always watching. Always testing. Laura doesn't haunt Pembine. She haunts you. The curious. The broken. The ones who think, maybe I'd take her deal. So go ahead. Close this video. Shut off your phone. Try to forget her name. But tonight, when you're half asleep and you catch a whiff of vanilla and iron, when your clock ticks just a little too loud, like it's counting down to something, don't answer. And if you see a flicker of green in the corner of your eye, run. Not from the ghost. From what she makes you want. Why does Laura's story cling to us? Crawl into our beds at night? Whisper through our headphones? Is it because we see ourselves in her? The parts of us that rage against being forgotten? The parts that still scream, "I mattered." Long after the world stops listening, Laura Van Rose isn't just a ghost. She's a mirror. Think about it. We've all made bargains we regret, loved people who left us in the dark, buried secrets we swear we'll take to the grave, until the grave spits them back up. Laura did what we're all afraid to do. She refused to let go. Even if it meant becoming something monstrous. Even if it meant trapping an entire town in her nightmare. But there's another reason we can't quit her. She's winning. Every time someone whispers her name in a YouTube comment. Every time a paranormal blog dissects her diary. Every time you click on a video like this, craving that chill down your spine, Laura grows stronger. Stories are currency for the dead, and we're paying her in truckloads. Pembine knows this. The town tried to erase her, burned her letters, bulldozed her favorite trails, even renamed Rose Hollow Pineview Lodge in the 90s. Didn't matter. The sign caught fire the day they hung it. The flames spelled Laura in the ashes. Now, Pembine survives by feeding her. The diner sells witch's brew coffee. The gift shop peddles raven feathers and fake bloodstained gloves. Tourists eat it up. They wander into the woods with EMF detectors, giggling, daring Laura to show herself. Most come back empty-handed, but not all. In 2018, a woman named Claire booked the Laura Van Rose experience at Pineview Lodge. She spent the night in Laura's old bedroom, joking on Instagram live about ghost girl gang signs. At 3:33 a.m., the stream cut out. When staff found her, she was crouched in the closet, scratching the same phrase into the wall over and over. I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. Claire couldn't speak for a week. When she finally did, all she said was, she's so lonely. That's the trap, isn't it? We paint Laura as a monster, a witch, a cautionary tale, but what if she's just sad? A heartbroken girl screaming into the void, praying someone will scream back? Maybe that's why the woods pull at us. Why hikers find themselves veering off trails, lured by the smell of vanilla and rust. Why every year, hundreds of strangers mail letters to Pembine addressed to Laura, letters that vanish from the post office, only to reappear in Rose Hollow's fireplace unburned. We want to save her, to rewrite her story, give her the happy ending life denied her. But here's the truth Laura teaches us. Some endings can't be rewritten. Some doors, once opened, can't be closed. The locals know. They've stopped fighting. Now they leave offerings at the edge of the woods, fresh apples, bottles of bourbon, her favorite, and handwritten apologies from anyone who wronged her ancestors. Last fall, a teen named Kyle tossed in a pack of cigarettes and a note. Sorry, my great-great-grandpa called you a witch. He was a jerk. The next morning, the cigarettes were gone. In their place, a single blue jay feather, stabbed into the soil like a tiny dagger. Is it her? Or are we all just playing pretend, desperate to believe the dead can forgive? Does it matter? Laura's story outran the grave. It's ours now. A campfire tale, a podcast obsession, a TikTok trend. We'll keep telling it, twisting it, until it's nothing but cheap jump scares and conspiracy theories. And maybe that's the real horror, not the ghost, but what we've turned her into. So the next time you feel that itch to dig deeper, to solve her mystery, ask yourself, are you doing it for Laura? Or are you doing it for you? The lonely parts, the angry parts, the parts that whisper, what if I stayed? What if I burned it all down? What if I made them remember? Laura's curse was never about Pembine. It's about us, the living, the way we turn pain into spectacle, the way we dress our demons in pretty stories so we can sleep at night. But tonight, as the wind picks up outside your window, as shadows stretch a little too long, as your screen flickers, ask yourself one last question. What if she's not the monster? What if we are?